Hello students, welcome back to Tuition Masters everyone. And today we are here with another session for grade 9 biology, that is chapter number 2 of bio, and chapter number 6 for science, that is tissues. And this is a session number 1 where we are going to discuss about plant tissues. In our upcoming sessions we are going to discuss about animal tissues also. So yes, let's start with what are plant tissues, isn't it? So it's a very interesting chapter. Previously we studied about the fundamental unit of life, that is cell, and now we're going to understand about tissues. So question comes in my mind, what are tissues? So tissues are nothing but they are a cluster of cells which are specialized in one function, and they are grouped together at a definite place in the body, and these cells constitute a tissue. So basically in the human organizational body, what happens, we have cells. What they make, cells make up the tissue, isn't it? The cells make the tissue, isn't it? Then many tissues come together and make a organ. Then many organs come together make a organ system, isn't it? And at the end all the organ system come together and make a organism, isn't it? Organism. So basically, in the tissue, the cluster of cells are arranged and designed in a such a way so as to give the highest possible efficiency of function. So we have tissues in our brain, in our lungs, in our respiratory system, in the digestive system, in all the systems we have tissue. And all those tissues are different from one another. Why? Because they have different functions. They all do not perform the same function. All of them have different functions, and they're different places. Now, if all cells present in the tissue are similar in structure, origin, and function, they are known as a simple tissue. Simple tissue, they are in a similar structure. They are same types of cell. They are simple tissues. Now, if a tissue contains more than one type of simple tissues, it is known as compound tissue, or even known as complex tissue. Now, tissues are present in all multicellular organisms like plants, animals, humans. We all have tissues. Now, let's see the division of plant tissues. Now, plant tissues, they have two major types, meristematic and permanent tissues. Now, what are the types of meristematic tissues? Meristematic tissues are of three types: apical meristem, lateral meristem, intercalary meristem. Apical meristem are present at the tips of root and shoot. They will always ask you the question of location. So apical tissues are present in the tips at the apex, okay, and it increases the length. The function is to increase the length of stem and root. Next is lateral meristem, also known as cambium. It is below the bark or cambium in the dicot root and dicot stem. What does it do? It increases the girth. Okay, it increases the girth. Alright. Next one is lateral meristem. Lateral meristem, they are present at the base of leaves, basically in the internode. Okay, in the internodal area, intercalary meristems are present. Now coming towards permanent. Permanent tissues are divided into two more: simple permanent and complex permanent. Now simple permanent, they are protective and supporting tissues, and they have one type of cell. They are divided into three parts: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma, and these all we're going to study today. Next is complex tissue. They are made up of more than one type of cells, and they are again divided into two types: xylem and phloem. So xylem consists of xylem vessels, tracheids, fibers, and parenchyma, and phloem consists of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and parenchyma. So let's understand about meristematic tissues. So the growth, when we talk about plants, the growth of plants, they occur only in some specific regions. Okay, the growth is not throughout the plant body, it's only in specific region. Why? This is because of the dividing tissues known as meristematic tissues. So students, you should remember that meristematic tissues are nothing but the dividing tissues. They are the one who divide in the cell and divide the tissue and make the plant grow, and it is located only at those points where growth is happening. Okay, now depending on the region where they are present, that as I said, meristematic are divided into three parts: apical, present at the apex of roots and stems, right? Next is intercalary present in the internodes increase the girth, correct? They are present at the internodes, right? Between two nodes the place is internodes, so between internodes they are present. And then last one is lateral meristem, which are present laterally and increase the girth. Okay, now what next? What are the characteristics of these meristematic tissues? They are also known as meristems. Now, these tissues are living, they are living tissues, and they increase the length and thickness or the girth of a plant. So, length, thickness, growth are controlled by the meristematic tissues. Okay, now the cells which make up these tissues have dense cytoplasm, thin cellulose wall, prominent nuclei, and no vacuoles. So you should remember these 4 points, that they have a dense cytoplasm. It's quite important that mention four properties of meristematic tissue, so it will come for 2 marks. Then they have thin cellulose cellulose wall, okay, cell wall, right? Next they have a prominent nuclei, correct? And they have no vacuoles, correct? They have no vacuoles. Why don't have new vacuoles? Because when vacuoles are present, division cannot happen, so they are dividing tissue, so there is a lack of vacuoles. Now coming towards the second type of tissues, those are permanent tissues. Now the cells formed by meristematic tissue take up a specific role and lose the ability to divide. As a result, they make up the permanent tissue. So what is permanent tissue? Basically, now when you are a child, when a newborn child is there, the child keeps on growing, isn't it? But what happens at a certain age of, like, 30, 20, 20, like 25 to 30, that time the child stops growing. Why? That is because what happened, the cells which are dividing now, they stop. Similarly in plants also, the meristematic tissues, they are at the young age, they keep on dividing, but after that these meristematic tissues are converted into permanent tissues. Okay, now this process of taking up a permanent shape, size, and function is called differentiation. When a meristem when a meristem is converted into permanent tissue, right, and it takes place a permanent shape, size, and function, it is known as differentiation, the process. Now the cells of meristematic tissue differentiate to form different types of permanent tissue. So meristematic tissues, they differentiate and they become permanent tissues. So what is the first type of permanent tissue? So we have three. The first one is parenchyma. Now, what is parenchyma? A few layers of cells. They form a basic packaging ground tissue. Okay, some layers of cell, they make a packaging ground tissue, the base tissue known as parenchyma. Okay. Now, a type of permanent tissue. It consists of unspecialized cell, thin cell walls, and they are live cells, means they are living cells. Okay, they are living cells, they are not dead. Okay, they are living cells. Okay, you can see here what is the transpose section. They have little bit intercellular spaces also, right? This is the image of a what parenchymal cell. Now they are the base tissue, means they are present in the base structure. Okay, in the base of the tissues, plant tissues, this is present. Now the cell wall of parenchymal cells is made up of cellulose. It's very important, it's made up of cellulose. Okay, it's made up of cellulose. Now next is, they are usually loosely packed so that large spaces between them, means intercellular spaces are found. So intercellular spaces are found, that's why they have air spaces between them, they're loosely packed. Now parenchymal cells have two types of tissues. Okay, they have two types of tissue. First one is sclerenchyma, second one is parenchyma. Now what is sclerenchyma? In some type of situations, parenchyma also performs photosynthesis. Okay, so that kind of parenchyma which consists of chlorophyll and performs photosynthesis is known as sclerenchyma. Okay, and second one, aerenchyma. Air is coming in it, right? So in aquatic plants, for example, in aquatic plants such as lotus and water lily, there are large air cavities present inside this parenchyma to give buoyancy. Buoyancy means the floating principle, right? So that they can easily float on water. And they are known as aerenchyma. Moving towards the next type of tissue, that is collenchyma. Now, collenchyma, what is the main function? It gives flexibility in plants due to another permanent tissue, collenchyma. So basically, collenchyma, the main function is flexibility. Now, when you try to bend stem, when you try to bend a stem, okay, so it doesn't easily breaks, it gets flexible, right? Why is it flexibility due to? It is due to collenchyma. Now it also allows easy bending in various parts of a plant, for example leaf and stem. Without breaking them, it allows flexibility. That also provides mechanical support to the plants. This tissue is present in leaves, stalks, below the epidermis. Now, what is epidermis? We are going to learn ahead in detail. Now, the cells of this tissue, collenchyma, are living and they're elongated and irregularly thickened at corners. I'm going to show you that image. And there is very little intercellular spaces. Okay. Now, what is the cell wall made up of? Important point. So, when I talk about cell wall of collenchyma is made up of two materials. First is pectin plus hemicellulose. So pectin plus hemicellulose make up the cell wall of collenchyma. Now, if you see the transverse and longitudinal sections, so what you can see, the walls are irregularly thickened. There is nucleus, vacuole, and cell wall. There is a vacuole present because there is no division, right? Right, now there's an end wall, there's primary cell wall, chloroplast is there, isn't it? Then nucleus, vacuole, cytoplasm, and very less. The intercellular spaces are quite less in collenchyma. Moving towards the last type, that is sclerenchyma. Now, it is a tissue which makes the hard and stiff parts of a plant. For example, the husk of a coconut. Now, if you have ever seen a tree. Now, a typical tree, it has a bark which is very hard when compared to the leaves and the stems. Why is it so? Then, when you see a coconut, the outer covering is super hard, the husk is super hard. Why is it so? Because those tissues are made up of those things are made up of sclerenchyma. Okay, sclerenchyma is the tissue which is dead. It is a dead tissue, and the main function is to provide protection. They are long and narrow cell walls. Okay, as the walls are thickened. Okay, the walls are thickened due to lignin. They have a lignified cell wall. The cell wall is made up of lignin. Okay, that is a chemical substance which acts like a cement. Okay, a cement, what does it do? It hardens and makes it tough. Correct. So similarly, lignin is present in sclerenchymal cells to make them tough and rigid. Now, often these cell walls are very thick that there is no internal space. If there also, there's like in points the space is there. It's very less. Okay. Now, this tissue, where is it present? It's present in the stems around vascular bundles. What are vascular bundles? Myxylem and phloem. Okay, in the veins of the leaves, and in the hard covering of seeds. Seeds are always hard of any fruit. Why? Due to sclerenchyma is present in them. Even in the nuts, and it provides the strength. The main function is providing mechanical support. Okay, mechanical support is the main thing. Okay, how do they look like? The figures are quite important. In your exams, they will definitely ask you to label it or explain it. So see, sclerenchyma transverse and longitudinal section, they're quite narrow, they have lumen in between, they have lignified, it's made up of lignin. Correct? It's made up of lignin. So they have a nucleus, cell wall, secondary cell wall. Okay, so they have a primary cell wall also, and they have one more cell wall which is made up of lignin. Okay. Now, next comes is epidermis. Epidermis is not a type, it's not a type of tissue, okay, but it is something you have to know. It's not a simple permanent tissue, but it's a part of the plant. So, the outermost layer of cell, okay, the outermost layer, okay, that is known as a what can we say? It is known as the epidermis. Okay, now it has a very important role to protect the cells. Okay, the cells of epidermal tissue. They what they happen is they make a continuous layer without intercellular spaces. They make a continuous layer, a sheet of epidermis, and where they have no intercellular spaces, they protect the plant. Now, epidermal cells on the aerial parts of the plant often secrete a waxy, water resistant layer which makes them, waterproof. Basically, this, epidermis makes them waterproof. Now, what happens when it's waterproof? It helps in water loss against water, to protects it, then mechanical injury, or if there is any parasitic fungal, attack. Now, if you see a cross section of leaf, what is it? You have a upper epidermis, lower epidermis. They are in a sheet kind of format, and they do not have any intercellular spaces, isn't it? So that is the main thing. Now, in the epidermis of the leaf, there are small, small pores present, which are known as stomata. Now, in the epidermis, in the leaves, the epidermis part of the leaf, they have stomata present. Now, these stomata are enclosed by two kidney kind of cells, kidney shaped cells that are known as, they are nothing but are guard cells. Can you see over here? These are my guard cells. Okay, these are the guard cells. Now, they what do? They are necessary for exchanging gases and transpiration. So the main two functions of stomata is exchange of gases, okay, taking oxygen in, giving carbon dioxide out that way, and transpiration, which is loss of water vapor. Okay. Now, epidermis is even present in the roots, where the function is for water absorption. Okay, they commonly have long hair like parts, okay, and that greatly increase the total absorptive surface area. They have long hair, and that increases the absorption area. Now, in some parts like the desert plants, okay, they are also known as xerophytes. Okay, what are they known as? The desert plants are known as xerophytes. So these xerophytes have a thick waxy coating on them known as cutin. On its outer surface, they have cutin so that it avoids water loss. Last part of the plant tissue is complex permanent tissue. Now, complex permanent, as the name suggests, it's made up of more than one type of cells, and all the cells coordinate with each other and do different functions. I mean, common function. Sorry. Now, what are complex permanent tissue? The two types are xylem and phloem. They are the vascular bundles. Now, xylem, they consist of tracheids. Okay, they consist of few parts such as trachid, then xylem vessels, xylem fibers, and parenchyma. So, they have the tracheids and vessels. What are they? They are long tube-like structures. Okay, they are non like long tubular structure and allow water and minerals to go vertically. So water and mineral transportation is done by the tracheids and vessels. Alright. Now, xylem parenchyma, we just studied what's parenchyma. It helps in the storage of food and in the sideways conduction of water. In the sideways conduction of water and storage of food, xylem parenchyma is used. And the xylem fibers are mainly supportive. They help in the supporting structure. Now, remember that parenchyma is only the living part. Okay, so here if you see, this is the structure. Now, xylem parenchyma is only the living component. Okay, it is only the living component, others all are dead. Okay, tracheids, vessels, right, and the other fibers, they are all dead. What are the functions? Xylem helps in the conduction of water minerals from roots to all parts of the shoot system, the aerial part, and it also provides mechanical support. Next type is phloem, isn't it? Now, phloem is again made up of four types: sieve tubes, then companion cells, and phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers, isn't it? Now sieve tubes. What happens in sieve tubes? They are very long, they're elongated, and they're supported by the companion cells. Companion cells usually support them. They have perforated sheets. Okay, there are sieve plates are also there which are perforated to purify the food which is going up and down, right? And phloem, unlike xylem, in the materials can move in both directions. It is bidirectional. Okay, when I talk about this thing, uh, phloem, it is bidirectional, whereas xylem is unidirectional. For now, except phloem fibers, phloem cells are living cells. Okay, so here that is the condition. And phloem, if you see, this is the way. There is a sieve plate which is a perforation plate, right? There are sieve tubes also, isn't it? There are sieve tubes, then there are phloem parenchyma, then there are companion cells also, isn't it? It's quite good structure. Now, functions. What are the functions? Phloem helps in the transportation of food from the leaves to the other plants, because leaf is a structure that make up the, what they do, they do the photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is performed by the leaves, isn't it? So that's why the food is taken from the leaves to the other parts of the body. And parenchyma again helps in the storage of food. Food storage is done by parenchyma. So students, we have completed with our today's session. So this was all about our today's session, where we quickly discussed what are the types of this tissue, the plant tissues. And in the next lecture, we are going to complete with this chapter by completing the chapter with the types of animal tissues. So I'll be seeing you very soon in our next videos. Till then, make sure you are subscribing to the channel. If you didn't do it till now, hit the like button, and even make sure to press the bell icon and subscribe so that you get regular notifications. So that was all about for today. I'll be seeing you very soon in an upcoming videos. Till then, what you have to do, take care of yourself, and goodbye.